Ish. All right. With that being said, what is going on, Sacktown? It is Sacktown Pete back at it again. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We have a very special guest on the channel. We got Barry from the Royal Rebounds Podcast. If you guys don't know them, it's actually Barry and Calvin, who's actually unable to join us today. But Barry is here. These two have been killing it. I will link the descriptions I'll link there's links in the description below. Go show them some love and go check them out. They have a fantastic Sacramento Kings podcast that they run, and it's awesome to see them just kill it right now. And it's also awesome to have them on board for today's video. Barry, for those that are watching that don't know you, tell us something about a little bit about yourself and what you do, man.
Thanks, Pete. Really happy to be here on the channel. Like you mentioned, unfortunately, Calvin is traveling right now, so he's unable to be here. But really happy about the whole preseason. Excited to be here on the show. I actually grew up in Sacramento, was born in Sacramento, and then I've been living in Hawaii for the past 11 years. So, I come back occasionally to some games, but I'm still a diehard Kings fan. I watch every single game. Love to talk about the Kings. Made it back last weekend for Fan Fest. Hopefully I'll be back in a couple more weeks to make it to a game. But just happy to be here, man.
And man, I actually missed out on Fan Fest. So speaking of Fan Fest, how was that, man? I've been wanting to ask you. I've seen your guys see you guys talk about it, and how was the experience? Like I heard nothing but good things at Fan Fest. I heard it was like one of the best Fan Fests and quite often. So
it was pretty short. But I mean, hey, it's free tickets, so what can you really expect? But
yeah,
it was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, they didn't have the upper levels open, so we couldn't go check out Sierra Nevada, couldn't drink the Proud Ale or anything like that. But it was really cool to see the players. It was great to be back in Golden One, surrounded by fans, talked to a bunch of people, met a bunch of people, just had a overall awesome time being there and just enjoying the moment.
that's fantastic, man. That is awesome to hear. And I've heard nothing but good things about the Fan Fest that took place last week. And I'm seeing a lot of great things about the Sacramento Kings and this preseason, which just ended. They beat the Los Angeles Lakers in their final preseason game, and they were unbeaten this preseason. And how do you feel about the preseason? How do you think how this team is looking like right now, and how Luke Walton has his team gelling right now? What's your take on the preseason?
I mean, it is the preseason, so you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt. But hey, anytime the Kings win a game, I'm happy. It's not very often you're going to see the Kings go undefeated and the Lakers not win a single game. They end up going 0-6. We went 4-0,
Yeah.
and we won a summer league championship before that too. So really happy to see some W's. It was really cool to see kind of a different guy step up every single game. We saw Terrence Davis have a big game. We saw De'Aaron Fox have a big game. We saw just all sorts of different guys. Davion Mitchell had a huge game. So it was cool to see how deep this team is and that not everybody on the floor needs to play excellent every night to win some games. So it's been a long time coming for us Kings fans.
It has been, and I'm with you, man. It has been a very long time coming. It's just great to see some continuity, and for once, I know, considering the fact that it's preseason, just seems like a good vibe. It feels like everyone's gelling, everyone's on the same page. Different guys, coming in and out of the lineup, stepping on the court. The thing that kind of blew me away as I watched the last couple of games is the second unit. The bench is going to be, I think we're going to have one of the best benches in the league this upcoming season. You have a deep bench, a very deep bench, and just a lot of offensive firepower. When I think about the bench, I think of, Davion Mitchell. I think of Terrence Davis in particular, which who blew me away in the previous game against the Lakers, just coming in that fourth quarter and just getting buckets and making threes left and right over the Lakers and their defenders. It was a fun, exciting to see. And I'm glad that the Sacramento Kings brought Terrence Davis back. I'm just surprised that he came back on a reasonable contract for a 2-year contract. And how do you feel about the offseason and what Monty McNair has done as far as the veteran pickups and free agents that he signed with the Alex Lynn and bringing Mo Harkless back as well? And trading for Tristan Thompson for DeLon Wright. I know some of the fan base had mixed opinions about that trade. Honestly, for me, it didn't surprise me at all. Nothing against DeLon Wright, a true professional, and a true class act. He enjoyed his time here and tenure here with the Sacramento Kings, but considering the fact that we drafted Davion Mitchell and we have a Buddy Hield still on the roster and we re-signed Terrence Davis, I was perfectly fine with that trade. So just about that trade and overall the offseason that Monte McNair has had this summer, what's your take on that? How do you feel about what he's done and what he has accomplished?
I'm feeling pretty good about that. We didn't overpay for any guys this offseason. I think the number one priority was bringing back Richaun Holmes. Luckily for us Kings fans, there wasn't a lot of teams with salary cap space. So we got him on a team-friendly, reasonable deal. Really, really happy about that. And then I think the second biggest priority was just defense and rebounding. We saw bringing in, Tristan Thompson, great offensive rebounder, brings in some grit, some toughness, loves to play defense. They brought back Alex Len, great rim protector, drafted Davion Mitchell. Defense was definitely a priority this offseason. We noticed last season the Kings gave up over 120 points a game, like more than half the season. That was a big need for them. So I think Monty did a great job addressing, defense, bringing in some more depth, and bringing back a guy like Richaun Holmes on a team-friendly deal.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And I think that with him coming out and just swinging to prioritize that defense was, hey, you know what? We had a terrible defense last season, league worst, probably one of the worst in history as well. And I'm so glad he came out and just made that as a priority. Hey, this has to be fixed. This is an issue that we're going to address. And he started out with that by drafting a Davion Mitchell, who was arguably the best defender in the draft. And he carried over with picking up Tristan Thompson in the trade as well, and retaining Richaun Holmes, because let's face it, the Sacramento Kings at that center forward position, if Richaun Holmes was not back, they would be bits of trouble, because we love Mr. Holmes's heart and hustle and the grit and grind that he brings, and the high motor that he just is able to just perform and give it his all every single game. And I'm glad that Richaun Holmes is back on a reasonable contract, because at one point I thought that there will be teams that will be entertaining Richaun Holmes, and money talks. I thought he'd probably get the money, get the big payday, and I'm glad that he chose to stay in Sacramento and come back on a reasonable deal. And it just shows me that, a player like that, sometimes it's not all about the money. It's about the pieces that we have in place and being part of the core and building and maturing together. That really stood out to me about Richaun Holmes. And I like what Monty has done so far. I mean, like I said, defensively, he's addressed some of the issues. People should take that with a grain of salt, that this was a preseason, and let's just hope that it carries over into the regular season when it starts for real Wednesday night against the Blazers in Portland. I want to take it back to the draft. So how do you feel about Davion Mitchell being drafted at number 9, considering the fact that there was maybe other options available in terms of more of a fit? Because knowing that you have a De'Aaron Fox, knowing that you have a Tyrese Halliburton, and you drafted Davion Mitchell, what's your take on that? And how do you feel about Davion Mitchell overall being part of that 3-guard lineup with the Fox and the Halliburton?
I feel Monty made it pretty clear that he was going to take best available. As many Kings fans saw with the whole Doncic and Marvin Bagley situation, we drafted on fit, not on best available. That ended up coming back to bite us. So Monty made it clear from the start he's always going to take best available, which a team like Sacramento, small market franchise, it's kind of something you have to do. We saw it in the year before, taking Tyrese Halliburton in number 12. I didn't even think he was going to be available at 12. Calvin and I did a pre-draft show where we talked about prospects. We didn't even talk about Tyrese because we thought there was no way he'd be available at 12. And I feel the same exact way about Davion. I did not think he was going to be available at 9, but I'm really happy he ended up falling to the team, and I'm glad that we drafted him. We saw a ton of 3-guard sets last year with Corey Joseph. Luke Walton loves to play that three-guard set, a versatile set, especially late in games to lock teams down. I think that Davion Mitchell is already, light years ahead of Corey Joseph in terms of defensive ability, obviously upside and drive and stuff like that. So I'm ecstatic to have him on this team, and I can't wait to see the destruction this three-guard lineup will bring to the Western Conference.
Well, you know what? I saw it the other night up close and personal against the Los Angeles Lakers, and I was blown away because when you have a Fox and a Halliburton and a Davion Mitchell in the picture now, those guards, the Lakers defense multiple times, I saw their defense collapse, and those guards went at them, whether they just created shots and separations for themselves, or they just dish out the ball and kick it out to Terrence Davis, Holmes, or others on the roster. But Halliburton, I'm with you guys on that because I had no idea Halliburton was going to fall down to where he fell, and we were in a position to draft him. So I had Tyrese Halliburton was not even in my mock draft at the time before we took him, and Davion Mitchell. I thought there was a good chance he was going to be available. I actually had a mock draft in one of my previous videos around the draft time. I actually had Davion Mitchell in my top 5 on the board that I think that the Kings could possibly look at and look into. And some have said hey, Pete, you're crazy. We're not going to take another guard. Like, we have a Halliburton, we have a De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield's still on the team. Why would you want to take another guard? And like you said, Monte McNair, he's made it clear that we're going to take the best player available. And I feel like you have a book night. You have other players that were available that were rumored, how rumors go, that were rumored to be on the Kings' radar. But Monte McNair made it clear, hey, we're taking the best player available. He's come out and said that they've been scouting Davion Mitchell for a year now, and they've done their homework. They've done their analytics. And we know Monte McNair and staff, they're all about analytics when it comes to these things. And he was available when they were on the clock, and they took him. And I felt comfortable. I know fans had some mixed, opinions about the draft pick, and that's fine. I mean, not everybody has to be on the same page, but I feel like Davion Mitchell, drafting him, I had no problem with that because I know ultimately what the potential could be when you include a two-way guard like a Davion Mitchell in the picture with the Fox and the Halliburton. And I think that it's just going to make defenses it's going to make them they're going to have a hard time trying to guard all three of them, throw on the court at the same time, and offensively and defensively. Davion Mitchell, for his size, he's a tough dude, and I think he's the best defender already in a Sacramento Kings uniform that the Kings have had since Ron Artest. And I really do feel that way because it's been a long, long time since the Kings have had a top flight defender. I can even mention the good old Doug Christie, and I feel like Davion Mitchell, Luke Walton's he's gonna get plenty of time. I just feel like the work ethic's there. For what I'm hearing about training camp, he's always in the gym working and busting, his ass off. And I feel like he's making others better around him. It's only gonna help and not hurt the Kings because we haven't had a guy like this, a talent like this, and just the work ethic and the dog mentality. And this team has been missing that for quite some time, Barry. And I feel like they finally have that now. And I think this moving forward, it's going to be, I think fans are in for a surprise. I really do feel that way. And just the vibe that I'm getting and around the team and the way they're gelling, I think Luke Walton has done a fantastic job this preseason. And speaking of Luke Walton, he's in his third year now, going into his third year. We know what happened last season, the multiple 9-game losing streaks, the 31 win season. We know what happened in his first year. De'Aaron Fox was out majority of the year. Marvin Bagley missed majority of the year. We can give him the benefit of doubt because the core players were hurt at the time, and they still managed to win 31 games that year. So this season, is it make or break for Luke Walton? Is this the year where, they have the core in place, everybody's healthy, and this is a big year for Luke Walton? How do you feel about Luke Walton going into his third year?
Yeah, we've both been very critical of Luke Walton on our show, and I think that's mainly because I still have some pent up feelings seeing him in a Lakers jersey, back when he was a player. But, people forget that this is Luke Walton's first full training camp. 2 seasons ago, his first season as head coach, they went to India.
Yeah.
Then last year they had COVID. So, this is his first full training camp. And the players love to play for him. De'Aaron Fox loves to play for him. Tyrese Halliburton's already loving to play for him. You see guys like Rashawn Holmes willing to sacrifice money to come back to Sacramento. They're happy with this team. They feel like they're building something. And another notion on, Davion Mitchell, we saw after the Lakers game, he stayed for an additional 30 minutes putting up shots late after the game. And that's after they went undefeated in the preseason. And we saw the same thing from him after they won a national championship. He flew back home to Baylor, stayed afterwards, called up one of the freshmen, said, "Hey, you want to make it to the league? Let's get some shots up. Let's keep getting better and better and better." It took him 4 years in college to get where he is. His first 2 years, nobody thought he'd be a first-round draft pick in the NBA. And he's just going to keep working harder and harder. And I think Luke Walton loves to have guys on his squad with a chip on their shoulder. That's why they brought in a guy like Tristan Thompson. So I'm really happy with this team. As long as the players want to play for Coach Walton, I'm happy to have him as the head coach.
That's great to hear. And I've voiced my, frustration at times last season, the way Luke Walton coached. I wasn't very happy with, especially with the second 9-game losing streak. I just wasn't very happy, as a lot of frustration and just, not really utilizing in Marvin Bagley the way he's properly utilized. I've multiple times, I'm like pulling my hair watching Marvin Bagley hang out on the perimeter, just standing and staring. And it's like, Luke, what are you doing? Get him in the paint. I mean, he's not, get him in the paint. But now the more I think about it, the Kings offense is not an issue. The main issue was defense. So the more I think about it, it's like, okay, Marvin Bagley is offensively, we know what he can do, but it's the question with him is on the defensive end. And I think Doug Christie being added to the coaching staff will only benefit him and help him with his defensive schemes and overall just his defensive ability to play defense. Marvin Bagley, this is the Kings have until Monday to decide if they want to exercise that option or team option or not. From what I've heard, both sides, they haven't talked about it. And it doesn't surprise me because there has been some mixed emotions with Marvin Bagley and his name around Sacramento and wanting to be here in Sacramento. What's your take on Marvin Bagley? How do you feel about Marvin Bagley, where he's at right now? And let's just say he doesn't get extended or they don't pick up the exercise by Monday. Do you think that will be some type of distraction, or do you think that that's going to linger over the season and the way Marvin Bagley plays? Like, oh, they didn't pick up my option. Like, oh, I'm just not going to put the effort in. Like, how do you feel about Marvin Bagley?
I still need to see more from Marvin. He's had all these injuries. Us Kings fans, we really haven't seen a ton. And, if you look at his numbers over the past few years, he's been pretty consistent in the time that he is on the court. But I think the Kings definitely need to offer him the qualifying offer. That makes him a restricted free agent at the end of the season, so that if anybody does make an offer, you can match that if you want to, if he has a good season. If not, you can always rescind the qualifying offer later too, if you need to clear some cap space. But, honestly, I don't really see many big name free agents the Kings are going to be going off after this next off season. So I think their best foot forward is going to be trying to keep Marvin on this team.
And I'm with you. It's crazy because like when I go to my Twitter account, if I do my videos too, when it comes to the name Marvin Bagley, it's always very critical in the comic section or even just on my Twitter handle because, people know how big of a supporter I am when it comes to Marvin Bagley. And you know what? I just want to see him succeed. We know he's been put in tough spots and he has those nagging injuries, and it's very unfortunate to see that. And I feel like we haven't seen the best of Marvin Bagley. Yeah, we've seen flashes of him during his rookie year under Dave Yeager, but ever since that, he hasn't stayed healthy and he hasn't been on the court as much as we wanted him to be. So I feel like the best is yet to come from Marvin Bagley. And I think that whether they decide to extend a qualifying offer to him, I think they should, because you have the ability to match any offer if he does get an offer. And if they decide, hey, this is not going to work out, they can always rescind that qualifying offer and just make him a free agent. And I'm hoping the best for Marvin Bagley, honestly speaking. Like, whatever happens from now until Monday, I really do hope that he's going to have, I hope he's, first, most importantly, I hope he's healthy, and I hope he's ready to go opening night. And I want to see him play really well with the core. And how do you feel about Buddy Hield? I mean, Buddy Hield's name has been obviously in the rumor mill, the trade rumor mill, all summer long. We've thought there was a deal in place with the Los Angeles Lakers over the summer, and then that same day, that deal did not go through, and we knew what the outcome was. The Lakers decided to make a deal with the Washington Wizards to acquire Russell Westbrook. And Buddy Hield is he okay coming off the bench, or is he locked in? Is he motivated to play good basketball this season for the Kings, despite what his role will be? How do you feel about Buddy Hield about this upcoming season?
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing about Marvin. I feel like for us Kings fans, it's tough. There's a little bit of FOMO there watching guys like Luka and Trae Young
Oh yeah,
ball out, and think about what could have been. And, a lot of that frustration is taken out on Marvin. And kind of a similar situation with Luke Walton, right? Is you see a guy like Mike Malone, who was loved by Kings fans, gets fired, goes on, has a ton of success with the Nuggets, and then, Jaeger leaves early. He's an assistant coach, I think, on the Nets right now. So, it's tough positions for both of those guys. But as far as Buddy Hield goes, originally I wanted to move Buddy just because I felt like we needed more defense. But
yeah,
seeing in these other pieces that Monty was able to bring in without giving up a lot, and Buddy seems to have bought in on this role. A
yeah,
lot of people forget, Buddy was the second most three-pointers made last year behind Steph Curry. So
yeah.
he obviously has a talent, and, we see how many threes teams are shooting. It feels like every year a team's breaking the record for threes made in a game. So he definitely has some talent. He just needs to be used in the right position. He's a hard worker. He loves to play basketball, and he seems to have bought in coming off the bench for this team. So I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see Buddy Hield in the six-man, running this year.
So we're gonna have two six men because we got Terrence Davis coming off the bench too, and Terrence Davis has played pretty well. He reminds me a lot of Bobby Jackson. I just get Bobby Jackson vibes from Terrence Davis. He's not that big, but he holds his ground. Like, he's like 6'3". He can come in and just spark plug off the bench. And I saw that the other night against the Lakers, and he was just coming in. He had the fourth quarter rocking, considering the fact that it was a preseason game. Obviously, when the Lakers are in town, we know how that is because there's a lot of Laker fans in the area. But for a preseason game, it didn't feel like a preseason game. It did not feel like a preseason game. It was like Golden One was rocking in that fourth quarter. I think that Buddy Hield, if he's bought in, it sounds like he's bought in, and that's great. I want to see Buddy Hield succeed. He's obviously, like you mentioned, one of the best three-point shooters in our league, and I feel like he can definitely contribute and be a good player this upcoming season. How do you feel about the starting five this upcoming season, like opening night? What is your predicted starting five?
I feel like it's going to be Fox, Tyrese, Harrison Barnes, and Rashawn Holmes are the four that are, going to be there. And then it's either going to be Marvin Bagley or Mo Harkless. It seems like Coach Walton's going more towards Mo Harkless lately, but I really think it's going to be matchup dependent. The beauty of having such a deep team with so many different looks is that, maybe Buddy Hield's going to get a start one of these nights. Maybe, Davion Mitchell's going to get a start one night. Maybe Tristan Thompson's going to get a start when you need him. So, I think this team is very, very versatile. And I think that was a big point of emphasis in their offseason. 2 seasons ago, they brought in Wes Wilcox. He was assistant GM for Atlanta Hawks. I don't know if you watched the show on ESPN, like Making a GM, but he was the main guy on that. So you could kind of watch the show and pick his brain and feel like how his approach was to the game. and he
I have.
loved versatility. And you could see what they did this offseason and making this team a lot more versatile and being able to adjust to these teams. We just played the Lakers. They're obviously the biggest team in the league. We're going to be playing Utah in a week. They're a really big team too.
Yep.
So I think that those four are going to be most likely starters, and then he's going to move a guy in and out in the 4 or 5 position, or sorry, the 4 or the 3 position, depending on the matchups. And then it's all about injuries too, right? So depending on who gets injured, when, they're going to have guys to throw in these different positions. But I'm happy to see Davion coming off the bench for now. Same with Buddy. Same with Terrence Davis. 3 good guys to have coming off your bench that can definitely light it up, and all good for the Kings.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. The bench is just you're gonna have 3 guards, those 3 guards that are really good, offensively, and Davion with his defensive presence. I think you're gonna have a good deep bench. And you can put in there, you can throw in Alex Len. I actually like Alex Len a lot. No knock on Hassan Whiteside. It's like Alex Len just fits in more with this play style. And considering the fact that Alex Len was actually here 2 seasons ago, or Luke Walton's first year, he pretty much is familiar with Luke Walton's system. And I feel like just like his lateral movement and his quickness is a lot better than what Hassan Whiteside had to offer. At times where I saw Whiteside, you're just kind of like lofty and not into it, not like locked in, engaged. Whereas Alex Len is more of a pick and roll style fit that's better and pick and roll positions than Hassan Whiteside. So I really do like it. I'm glad that Alex Len is back with the squad as well. And as far as my starting 5, I agree. I'm gonna go with the Fox and Halliburton. I think that knowing how great of a shooter Buddy Hield is, I want to see the De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton era start, and it has to start because I think that they're just better suited with one another, playing off of one another, and the chemistry is there, and them bonding together over the off season and preseason. I think it's just going to pay dividends for them for them moving forward. And I'm going to go with Harrison Barnes at the 3, just Mr. Solid. I mean, he doesn't get much talked about, and he's just a true veteran, true pro. So Harrison Barnes is at the 3. I'm going to go with Rashad Holmes at the 5. I think Holmes is a lock there at the 5. And then at the 4, I can see Mo Harkless getting starts, just like you mentioned, depending on the matchups and who we're playing. Maybe Luke will probably switch it up at times. But I think I'm going to go with Marvin. I'm going to go with Marvin at the 4. So Fox, Halliburton, Barnes, Bagley, and Holmes will be my starting 5 opening night. And I think Marvin Bagley, like I said, he should be ready to prove that, he has a chip on his shoulder, and he should be ready to prove to the world that we haven't seen the best of him yet. And I think that I'm hoping that we get to see the best of him this upcoming season. So
I hope so too.
I hope so too, man. I hope so. I'm just fingers crossed, Barry. I want to see this kid succeed despite fans having just to hate on him because of, how they feel some type of way because of the Lucas and the Trey Youngs and everybody else that's succeeding. But I'm rooting for this kid. I'm rooting for him to succeed. So I want to talk about the Ben Simmons rumors, just rumors that. So Ben Simmons, we've been linked to his name all summer long. Actually, when the season ended back in April last season, I just felt like we needed to add a third piece, and that's a star type of player. We needed to trade for a star type of player to add that to a Fox and a Halliburton. And we've been linked to Simmons rumor that name all summer long, and in some ways we're still linked to his name, but obviously the reality is that he's not a Sacramento King right now. And being linked to his name the whole summer and just not getting the deal done and knowing that the season's about to start, is that more of a disappointment, knowing that, hey, the Kings have a chance to get a star type of player and they failed to make that trade? Like, is that kind of a disappointment? Because I feel like I'm a little disappointed because we've been linked to the big name. And, I want that narrative to change. I want Monty McNair to change that narrative. Like, the Kings cannot land a big name via trade or free agency. And I feel like the team, I wanted them to make a big splash, is what I'm saying. A swing for the fences move. And I feel like they haven't done that. What's your take on that? Like, how do you feel about being linked to Simmons and then not able to get a deal done?
Well, I think a lot of people are sleeping on Ben Simmons. This guy's an incredible athlete. He's an incredible defender. He definitely has some flaws to his game, but he is an all-star. He's been on one of the better teams in the NBA the past couple years. But, honestly, I'm really happy with the squad we got going now. I want to see what they can do. I'm glad that Monty didn't give up too much to try and make a big splash and bring somebody. Maybe it didn't work out and it ends up handicapping us for the future, and we end up right back where we were again, not having any first round picks,
Yeah.
not being able to make any trades, maybe being strapped salary cap wise. But, in the past, we wouldn't even be mentioned in these rumors. It was,
Yeah.
oh, no way the Kings. They wouldn't even talk about us. So
Yeah.
just the fact that we're even being mentioned as a team that's been possible makes me a lot more confident in our front office, in our GM, that they are doing their due diligence on these guys that are available. They are calling other guys. They are seeing what they can do to improve this team. And, it just makes me trust them even more that the deal looked right for the Kings, it would have happened.
Yeah.
And that's not saying that it might still happen. But I do have some concerns with Ben Simmons. First off, being, I remember when he was in college and everyone was saying, "Wow, he's this good and he doesn't even try hard."
Mhm.
So, do I really want a guy on the Sacramento Kings that doesn't try hard? Because this is unfortunately, this is a place where it's easy to get complacent. It's
Yes.
easy to forget about what's important, and it's easy to give up, right? Especially when you haven't made the playoffs for 15 years. You feel like the world's falling down on you. So I think that he could bring a lot of positives to Sacramento. But, I'm trusting Monty so far, and I'm just have guys like Davion, Tyrese, De'Aaron Fox, that have a chip on their shoulder and want to be in Sacramento. They want to win in Sacramento. And that's all you can really ask for as a Kings fan.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And now I feel like I've always trusted Monty McNair in what his decision making. I just feel like, you know, we haven't made the playoffs in 15 years. I, I want this drought to end. And I feel like if you've been linked to an all-star proven type of talent like a Ben Simmons, uh, why not take the risk and just, try to acquire and land him? And you know what? I get it. Like seeing this team now, I like where we're at right now. And Monty McNair, as far as giving up too much for him, maybe he doesn't want to do that. Of course, nobody wants to give up too much for, a risky move like a Ben Simmons because he's owed $150 million over the next 4 seasons. And there's been questions about his character and his work ethic, and it's a risk. Overall, it's a risk. But I feel like it would have been worth the risk because his resume speaks for itself. Multiple All-Star caliber player, NBA All-Pro defender. He can defend multiple positions. I mean, can you imagine him and Davion on the court at the same time defending multiple positions? I feel like he would have been a big part of this and helped changing the defensive culture for the Sacramento Kings. But I think that's Davion's job to do that now, and he's done a fantastic job so far of doing that, as we've seen. But I feel like a trade, it could potentially still happen. I mean, you just never know. Maybe Philadelphia might lower their asking price, and then maybe we'll just re-engage and get discussions going. My point is, I would still be open to acquiring a Ben Simmons type of talent. You add that type of talent to this nucleus that you have, and I feel like you're somewhat on paper potentially a playoff caliber team. And that gets me to my next segment is the Western Conference. We know the Western Conference. We know our Pacific Division. We got both of the LA teams. We got the Golden Boys down in the Bay Area. They're going to be hungry this year. And we got the Phoenix Suns, who have had a fantastic, surprising season last season, making it all the way to the NBA Finals. Right now, where do you see the Sacramento Kings as far as in the Western Conference picture right now? Like, do you see him in the top 8? Do you see him in the top 10, top 12, in the play-in range? Where do you see them right now, Barry?
I see them in the top 10, worst case scenario. I think they'll definitely make that play-in tournament. But honestly, I really think it depends on the health of some of these other teams. Chris Paul's getting a little bit older. We've seen him have injuries, the past few seasons in the playoffs, especially in Houston. So, I think that team in Phoenix is tough to predict. I don't think they'll make the finals again like they did last year. And then the guys in Golden State, as you mentioned, they've had some tough injuries in the past. You lose a guy like Klay Thompson, and it's a huge blow to your team. It's amazing what one guy can actually do, right?
For 2 years. For 2 years.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, I think health is going to be a big factor. I think the Clippers took a step back this year, especially with Kawhi Leonard being out. I think the Kings are building up their chemistry. They're younger, they're deeper than a lot of these teams. So I'm really excited for the season. I'd love to see them in the top 8, but I think they're probably going to fit in that 8, 9, 10 spot.
I'm with you. I got them
I
at
hope.
I got them at 10 right now as well. I just feel like, the way Memphis ended last season and, win that big play-in game against Golden State, they actually came here to the Bay Area and beat Golden State to get that final spot. I feel like I'll give them a little nod right now just because they did that and they've kept their core in place and they've added like a Steven Madden talent right now that are just over the summer, should I say. I got the Kings at 10th. I feel like we are better than the Timberwolves. We are better than the New Orleans Pelicans, just based on the chemistry I've seen and the acquisitions that we've had. I think that the team that might be out of the playoff picture, I'm going to say the Clippers. I honestly think that they're good, but they're not as good as they are without Kawhi Leonard. And I feel like Kawhi Leonard, obviously superstar caliber player and pretty much top 3, top 5 player in our league. I feel like they're going to have problems without Kawhi Leonard. And I think that playoff spot, it's ours for the taking, man. It's there. It has to be ours. We're long overdue, man. I mean, the Knickerbockers had their great season last season. I mean, who would have thought the Phoenix Suns came out of nowhere and they went all the way to the NBA Finals, which I think it's going to be difficult for them to do this season just because I feel like some of the teams that they faced were a little banged up. But, hey, that's not their fault. You got to give them credit. They handled business. They took care of the Lakers when they were banged up. Me personally, I thought they would have beat the Lakers still if Lakers were healthy. That's just my take. I feel like the matchups and the way their style of play, they just took it to the Lakers, even in the regular season. I think that they would have beat a healthy Lakers team. I know a lot of fans are making excuses like, hey, no, Lakers were banged up. Lakers would have beat them. But I'm going to say they would have beat the Lakers, even if they were healthy. Then they took advantage of the Clippers, and they just moved on. And then they had to play Giannis, and we all know what Giannis did in the closeout game. He just went beast mode and just went on another level to close them out. But overall, I'm excited for the season. I know we got them in at 10, but that play-in tournament, it's going to be fun. But hey, they might succeed our expectations, and they might just be in the top 8 at the end of the day. Because the vibe right now that I'm getting, this team is hungry. They want to end the drought. They want to play good basketball. They want to be competitive, and they want to have some consistency this year, especially on the defensive end. They want to be a better defensive team. Luke Walton came out the other night and said that the goal is to be a top 15 defensive team in the league this year. And that's a good goal. I think this goal is very accomplishable. I'm glad that Luke Walton is setting goals on a defensive end for this team to reach those goals, because it's all motivation. And I feel like guys buy in when you have a Davion Mitchell staying afterwards, working on his game or just working out in the gym. It's only going to make a De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton that much better in the gym and getting them, getting them ready to get better at their games. And I feel
Portland's pretty fragile too,
Yeah.
They made some changes.
Yeah.
You look at a team like Denver, no Jamal Murray for possibly the whole season. They're going to lose some more games too. So, if the Kings can pick up a couple wins here, they're right in that picture.
And Portland, with the new coaching staff and the new head coach and Chauncey Billups in place, you just don't know. We experienced it when Dave Yeager left and Luke Walton came in. We had to regress and adjust to Luke Walton's style of play, and Luke Walton had to figure it out. And I feel like Luke Walton is finally having a full training camp to figure it out, because, like you said, because of COVID last season, and the year before that, they took that trip to India, which didn't really have a full training camp to kind of just get everybody ready for the season. And I'm looking forward to it, man. I honestly am looking forward to the season. I actually will be at the home opener a week from today. I will be at the home opener, and I'm looking forward to seeing the team against the Utah Jazz. They're going to be long and lengthy. It's going to be a tough matchup, but hey, it's a home opener. I'm actually looking forward to the first game as well against the Blazers in Portland. I thought we did pretty well against them in the preseason, knowing that Dame and CJ were out. But even when Damian Lillard and CJ are playing, I think our guards are going to be a handful, man. And I think that I want to see Davion Mitchell just guard the elite guards this season in the Western Conference. I'm talking about Dames, the CJs, Currys, the Lucas, even the overall just in the NBA. I'm excited because I feel like you're not going to see Tyrese Halliburton or De'Aaron Fox, gassed up or worn out because of Davion Mitchell's defense. Those guys they're not going to have to guard the best defender, the best players, the guards out there in the NBA. And having a shutdown defender and a luxury defender that prioritizes defense in anything before his offensive game, I think it's going to benefit Tyrese and De'Aaron a lot.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm so excited for this season. I'm going to try and go to that Friday game. Maybe I can fly in. I'll see if I can pick up some tickets and we could have a good time there. But I'm just so excited. Everything I've seen this summer, from Summer League champion to preseason 4-0, I just can't wait for basketball to officially start.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yep. All right, guys. Well, hey, Barry, that's all I got, man. Is there anything else you want to say before we close this out to Kings fans that are watching?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for having me on the show. If you guys want to hear more from me, you can check us out on YouTube, Royal Rebounds TV. We do a couple podcasts a week. We usually do a live after each game. And then we're going to be premiering the second season of the Royal Report. It's a ESPN type show every Friday. Pete was on our show last season. Love to have you on there again. But thanks again so much, and go Kings.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You guys heard the man. Go give him a like and a follow. Just wanted to say you and Calvin are fantastic at what you guys do, man. You guys got a good podcast show there. And I'm excited for the Royal Report. It was great to be on last season. And yeah, heck yeah, I'm definitely down to come on at some point this season as well. And I'll link your guys' descriptions. I'll link your guys' channel. Go check them out, Sacktown. They are fantastic at what they do. You can check them out in the description below. Barry, as always, my guy, it was a pleasure to have you on, man. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to come on. I'm looking forward to the season as well. And yeah, let me know if you're going to be out there. I'll be at the opener, and then we'll definitely find some time to maybe connect and meet up at the game.
Sounds good. Thanks again, Pete.
All right, Barry. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. You guys have a great night. Take care. God bless. Keep pushing forward, and we will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.
Go Kings. Peace.